From here, take your tea or coffee or both and just paint on some stain to age your paper. Hello and welcome to the Treasured Page Winter Swap. Welcome back for the 1st of December. I have here in front of me the swap that I've received from the lovely Sandrine, and she has sent me her envelopes and some tags and a scrap pack, and it's all gorgeous. So it's just here for something for you to look at while I explain the next swap. Okay, so for this month we're going to be sending out a blank signature as we've done before. So this is going to be what you're making if you haven't already done so. Those of you who have been part of previous swaps, you will have already made one. You may have even made one in advance for the winter swap, and this is for the next 3 months. So it's a collection of papers. It's going to be blank, so all the papers are left blank, ready for embellishment. You can put some ink colouring on there if you want to. You can include some other book pages and things that you find. I've got tracing paper in this one and some coffee dyed papers. We've got a glassine bag being used there, and I've put a fold so that you can have flip out areas, and this one's really pretty. So this one will be going out to my swap partner for the winter swap. I've just got to bind it, but I was just checking because I might want to exchange one or two of the papers to fit our theme. Now, our first quarter in spring was of course the vintage adventure, and that got us looking about and thinking about travel and thinking about different ways in which we could go places and exploring, and it took us out of our comfort zone. Then we had the summer swap, which is cuisine and culture, and we started to look at different foods and things. So when you're on your adventure, what might you have experienced? You could have had different kinds of foods, you could have looked at the different decor. What did that all inspire you? We were looking at different architecture, and we were looking at different foods and restaurants and ingredients and coffee shops and things like that. So that was really great. And then we've had nature inspired. So when you're on an adventure, you would go to the great outdoors, you'd have a look at the natural flora and fauna, you'd observe the different animals and the insects and all of that. So it was all thinking along the lines of a vintage adventure, really. So far all the quarterly projects have been about going somewhere, experiencing something and observing our natural environment and looking at all the things that you might see out in nature. So that was great. So we're now going to conclude our seasonal swaps with winter, and our prompt or our theme for winter is going to be home and hibernate. So after all this adventure, the experiences and the observations of our natural world, we're now going to be coming home, home to the burrow, home to the den, home to the dwelling, home to the hearth, home sweet home, whatever it means to you. Wherever you lay your hat, home is where your heart is. So the theme is home. Home comforts, snuggling up, hunkering down, hibernating, looking out for your environment in your special sacred place. So it's all about taking the experiences that you've learned over the year and now thinking about your home. What makes it special? What makes it quiet and safe, and building up your special, quiet crafting space. So it is home and hibernate. You can bring in animals if you'd like that, because that conjures up the idea of nests and burrows and hollows and warrens, and so you could have all of that if you would prefer to still stick with the nature. Or you could think along the idea of decor for the home. So you could think about cottages, textures, textiles, things that make you feel cozy and at home and secure and safe. So think along the lines of home and hibernate, to be safe and secure in one's home. You are going to be producing a signature. It's going to need to have 8 to 10 pages in it, and the size measurement is 21 centimetres by 11 centimetres. That's 8¼ inches by 4½ inches across. Okay, no more than 8 to 10 pages, and bound with string or the 3-hole pamphlet stitch. So that's a little booklet that we're sending. Now thinking about the home, thinking about home improvements, you're going to be in January, you're going to be the new year, fresh new start, so that is the mood and the inspiration. You're going to be thinking about what you can do to improve your environment, and you're going to be thinking about you and your health and all of those things. So what I would like for us to do is to create something with positive affirmations on it. Okay, for our project today, we're going to be making rustic, vintage colour palettes. These are going to come and live in our journals. They can be belly bands or side tucks. For our project today, you're going to need to make 3 rustic vintage colour swatches or colour palettes, and this is the example one. These have yet to be done, so just showing you here the idea. I've got a little cluster at the top with a sentiment that is going to be positive to be received in January, and then I've got my colour rectangles going down the strip, and I've put some stamping. And that's the sort of thing we're aiming for. Now on my example, I've put fabric samples in a similar colourway, and on these ones I'm going to probably do them differently. I'm going to put paint samples on this one. This one I might do some lace, or I might do some collage. So these are really fun. They're actually quite addictive when you get going. So on this one I've put down 5 little rectangles, and this is a fabric sample piece and a palette. I've put some stamping here and some little fake pencil writing there, just so that it looks as though it could be something where you're picking out the fabrics to go in your home. I've also put a little cluster at the top and a sentiment. So this is the sort of thing that we're doing. You could have embellishment at the top or the bottom. You can play around with them, you can back them with another card, but the idea is that we're having a paint palette or a colour palette, a colour swatch. We can also be inspired by paint palettes just as much as we can fabric swatches, so we can have a look at how a paint palette works. If you've got paints, you can make rectangles, and if you have a look here, it starts with the light colour and then there's a gradient of colour going down to the darker tones, and you can think about your winter theme, so you could maybe introduce those colours and have them going down, but have a vintage background. So I have made that with coffee and tea, so you can just see how these could look, just really quite fun. So the project for December is to send a blank signature undecorated that's bound with a 3-hole pamphlet stitch and has 8 to 10 mixed papers within to the size that I've already specified. We're going to make 3 colour swatches, and this is my example. These 2 are blank. I have yet to do them. I've got some fabric swatches there, and for this I just used canvas tape from Tim Holtz just for a very quick put together to show you for a demonstration. So these are 2-inch strips. You can make them bigger if you want. You can just adapt it to however you feel works and what you want to work with. So I've distressed mine using tea and coffee. I'll show you how I've done that. I've used the deckled edge ruler to give me this look, and this is artist sketch pad paper. So for this I'm using 160 paper weight. That's the sort of thickness. It's not quite card and it's not paper, it's just very thick paper. So that's the sort of paper weight we're looking for, just something with a little bit more strength to it. Alright, for this project I'm using 1 sheet of cartridge paper or sketchbook pad paper. This is slightly thicker, it's suitable for watercolour and painting, and I have used my deckle edge ruler and I have divided it into 5 sections. They're about 5 centimetres across, which is 2-inch wide strips, and I've left the bottom without the deckled edge. That's personal preference. I may change that, but I'm going to be putting decoration on the top and the bottom, so you won't see that, so that's all you need to do. I've roughly measured it, and I'm just using the deckled edge, giving myself a bit of a rustic look here. As this was a whole sheet of A4, we get one that's a bit longer, so we just tear that one down as well. So there we go. You may get a little bit of left over, and then you can take the ends off if you so wish. So tear them down with your ruler and get that nice rustic edge. We're then going to be staining them with tea and coffee. From here, take your tea or coffee or both and just paint on some stain to age your paper and allow that to soak in. Put some plastic down and just paint on your stain and then flip them over and do them on the back as well. You're going to do that for all four. You're going to need just 3 to send. So you're going to do them for all four, set them aside to dry, and if you want to put any decoration or any patterning, any staining, any different colour on, any spray, you can do that at this time. So that's already covered that on the back because I've got my plastic or silicone mat here wet. If you want to have a different texture in your paper, you can put on a little stain or you can put on a spray of ink, anything, just texture that paper. So for this it's important to rip the strips before you put the stain on. That's so the stain will take up on the edges where you've torn them. They will soak up the colour and look really rustic rather than ripping them and then having a white edge. If you stain your paper first and then rip it, you'll have a white edge. It's quite nice. It possibly save you on inking, and that will look really nice as well. So it's going to be all about the look of the paper and the aging of it. So we'll just do that over here. And last one. So I'm staining my strip with the tea stain here. I'm doing the strips individually, treating them differently as well. So just now I'm putting them off to the side to let them soak up that and dry off. And then what I'll do is I'm going to come in with a coffee and just put a little bit of colour. So here's my strips. I'm liking the colour. It looks like a nice old parchment colour. I've also got some very strong instant coffee here with just very little water, and I'm just going to dab along the edges in places just so that the edges soak up the coffee there and give me a little bit of an interest look here, a little bit of old worn look. So just dabbing that about. You can put a few splashes on if we can get that to work like that, just for some aging. And that's how that's done. And if you do that over your larger papers, you'll get some very interesting effects as well. So apply a little bit of an effect to your papers. So I'm just doing this while it's wet. I've got a tea bag here. I'm just going to sort of mute out some of those darker bits with tea, just tea and water. That was a fresh tea bag, nothing horrible here. And then that, we're just going to leave that, let that all soak in. Just have those marks put on there, allow it to move about. And then the beauty of this is we can turn it over and we can see what's going on the back as well. So that is the aging effect. I don't know, I'm sorry about the glare. But that's the back of it. Sorry about the glare. Hopefully you can see that. You'll be able to see it when it's finished. And that's how I'm doing that. So I'm going to be making 5 up, but I will keep 2 back for myself, and then I will be sending off the other 3. So I've cut myself a little rectangle square, and how I would do this if I was going to want to put paint down is that I would take my little template piece of card that I've cut to the right size, which is 3.5 centimetres across and 3 down if you want to do what I'm doing here. This all came from an A4 sheet of paper, and these are 2 inches across. So I'm leaving myself about 1 inch at the top, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to just make a little mark around here with my pencil as a template, just drawing round just to give myself a guide of where the box is. So maybe you've got some different colour paints that you want to put on there and do a colour swatch all the way down, or you can paint a different card or different paper weight, such as a watercolour paper. You could then cut the little tiles out and stick them down and create your paint palette. Maybe you make yourself lots of little tiles and then you decorate the tiles with something and you look at the colour tone and maybe bring that gradient of colour down. But you have something embellished on each tile going down. But think about the colour and think about keeping each swatch in a different colour. So we could say this one's more green, maybe I could do a blue one, and maybe I could do a white one or something like that. Then I get 3 varying different looks which would look great in the journal. So 3 vintage colour swatches or samples to go out with the signature. You can package them separately. And finally, you'll be sending out a scrap pack. You don't need any more than that. Just fill a paper bag, put a nice little decorative cluster on the top, and that is all you need to do for December. So that's the swap. We've got the signature, we've got the colour chart swatches, and we have got a scrap pack to help you to decorate your signature when you receive it. And be really mindful about what you put in the pack. Keep it nice, keep it simple, keep it things that they could just add in without too much tea dyeing or alteration. Just make it work for them so that you've thought that through. Package things up in a fun way if you want to do some extra crafts. That's all lovely, but please limit the amount of other things that you send. And then let's send out a nice homely inspirational pack to our swap partners to give them a lift, a buzz and a boost for January. And don't forget kind words and sentiments to really give them some inspiration for the new year. The deadline for this project will be the 31st of December to be received the first week of January. Okay guys, have a lot of fun with that. Have a wonderful Christmas, and I will be back with you very soon to show you how I put mine together on another video. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching, and above everything else, just slow down and make crafting time for you. Bye bye now.